Wishing you health. Today I want to share with you my experience of connecting an external antenna to a Motorola radio station. In this case, it is the digital radio station DP4400 or 4800, which is most commonly used for communication by the armed forces of Ukraine. At first I connected the external antenna through this antenna socket. For this, an adapter is needed. The first adapter I used was a homemade one. I bought it from a guy with the nickname Lagidny. He, firstly, manufactures such adapters, and secondly, he makes cables for reprogramming radio stations. The guy does everything competently and very well, but not cheaply. What is this contact used for? I am winding it up now. Then we connect the cable with the external antenna using the BNC connector. This braid needs to be electrically connected to the body of the radio station. Then it should be pressed down. The battery is not very convenient, and I haven't always been able to connect it reliably because it's designed in such a way that sometimes the battery doesn't connect fully, and there isn't that characteristic click. If this cable is not connected, the losses in the connector and adapter will be even greater, firstly. And secondly, not only will there be a loss of power during transmission, but the sensitivity of the radio station's receiver will also be much lower. Therefore, it is necessary to connect it. If there is no possibility, at least when holding the radio station in your hands, you should hold it with your finger. This way, the person themselves is already involved. It will serve as a counterbalance, and the situation will be a little better. The next stage, well, I can tell you that these connectors are still in use. They are currently installed on radio stations and have generally performed quite well. The next adapter, I bought it on AliExpress. Well, I can tell you that it needs a little bit of improvement. It is necessary to machine this part on a lathe to ensure it connects securely. And I will tell you, unfortunately, on AliExpress it is sold without the pigtail for connecting to the radio station's body, unfortunately. But we already have guys in Ukraine ordering these connectors. As I understand, they are modifying them and adding a petal here. But such a connector, it's quite expensive, so I refuse to buy it. Here I use some kind of wire connected to the casing, and in this way I achieve the same effect. But this adapter, as you can see, is already factory made, not homemade, and it looks more solid. However, if you connect the external antenna through this connector, there will still be power losses in the adapter line, and secondly, the receiver's sensitivity will still be lower. It's best to connect it through the service connector. There is a connector under this plastic cover. I'll remove it now and show you. Unfortunately, the original adapter costs very, very much. Therefore, we don't even consider it as an option, so we have to come up with something. I will jump and say that I was considering two options. The first option is this pigtail, and the second option is the adapter itself. This adapter is very similar to the original, but there are still some differences. This is an adapter for a different type of radio station. I don't remember which Motorola it was for. I bought it, but it didn't fit here. So it would be a correct decision to slightly cut the thread in the body of the radio station to ensure a reliable electrical and mechanical contact. But I also encountered some problems. A plastic element was preventing the adapter from being inserted all the way. Secondly, the battery itself also prevented me from inserting it all the way. You see, I can remove the clip itself, but the battery still wouldn't allow it. It was obstructing the adapter. Well, I could cut it, and you can cut a little here. You can remove some plastic and on the battery, but that would be damaging military property. However, we would prefer not to go down this path. And I went further. Secondly, this connector also didn't fit, so in order not to disassemble the radio station, I didn't want to cut threads. I slightly ground down the threads on the lathe. And you know, I thought I had already won. It has already been inserted. You see, now it is already inserted and it holds reliably. It seems that there are no problems at all. Then, for the second adapter that I bought, which is the same, I completely removed the entire part, the whole skirt. Here, I clicked it in and it holds well, quite reliably. I even thought about using it together with a spacer so that this connector wouldn't wobble and would be securely fixed. And I already thought that I had won because I didn't really like the pigtail. Still, there is another connector here, and that means even greater losses. So I thought I had already won, that I had achieved the necessary result, but it turned out that the central contact of the adapter does not reach the central contact of the connector. Therefore, there is no electrical connection, and the adapter does not work. As it turned out, a little bit of material needs to be removed. I chose a slightly larger internal diameter, but I can't imagine that being possible, and it's very complicated. Although this adapter costs quite little, it would be the ideal option if it fit. Therefore, I ultimately settled on this pigtail, which is a bit more expensive, priced at around 200 hryvnias, but it fits. See, it secures well. Still, it would be nice to somehow secure the pigtail to the radio station itself. Here, for example, you could stick a platform onto double-sided tape and secure it with plastic ties. This option would be ideal, and it would essentially be the most optimal solution. If we do not consider the original adapter, which costs a lot of dollars, I decided to stick with this option. This is it. I have gone through a tumultuous path to determine the optimal option for connecting an external antenna to the Motorola radio station, and I am sharing my experience with you. If you found the video helpful and enjoyable, please support it with a like and a comment. That's all for now. Wishing you peaceful skies. Victory is ours. Glory to Ukraine.